Hi, everyone. Okay, we are going to do lecture 2, and I'm going to start my little ineffective timer. Last time I set it for 15 minutes and I ended up going 20, but honestly, I still consider it a win because it wasn't over 20. That's going to be my new goal. Okay, so today, although I might have a better chance today, we'll see. Today, we're going to be talking about the internet and Web 2.0. And I know what you're thinking. I already know what the internet is, which I know you do, but I want you to think about the internet, even though you know what it is. I want you to consider where it came from and what it's doing. And I don't know, it's not that deep, but yeah, we are going to dive right into the new media. So the internet. I do very much want you to know the difference between the internet and the World Wide Web. So the first thing, what is the internet? Technically, it is hardware. It is the connections that allow computers to communicate with each other. The internet are the wires that, like, Morgantown keeps telling me that they're going to put underground to improve my internet access speed, but that remains to be seen. We're like slightly outside of the Morgantown city limits, so like we're always like one step below. But we do have Elon Musk's Starlink or whatever. That also is like the internet, right? So it doesn't have to be actual physical wires. It could be through satellite or whatever. But basically, it's the hardware that allows all of our devices to sort of sync up with each other. Okay. It is a network of networks. And who runs the internet? You, sort of. I mean, I know you're not like literally laying the ground wire and, installing the satellites and stuff like that. But users, right, are the ones who technically control the internet. What we mean by this is the internet is decentralized. It's not like there's just one satellite, and if we shoot down that satellite, the internet comes down. Or it's not like there's like one central hub of wires and servers and stuff like that, where if that goes down, the internet goes down. Nobody like controls the internet. It's because anybody who sort of has a connection into the internet contributes somehow to the authority on the internet. That's not to say, of course, that there can't be, for instance, control over how quickly the internet is able to send signals to other places and stuff. And that's why we get into conversations about net neutrality. You don't have to know what that is or anything like that. But I'm just putting words out there in case it like sparks some sort of recognition of conversations you might have had in the past. Certainly, there can be barriers to accessing the internet, but as sort of a but as an entity, it's not like, for instance, one government could get control of the internet because everything is decentralized. Because there's no central authority, this is great because it means that there's less of a threat of surveillance and censorship. Do those things happen in certain ways? Yeah, of course they do. Maybe one government will be slightly more effective at cracking down one like sort of corner of the internet. But because of this decentralized network, because there can always be an outside computer that can set up sort of like a new route to communicate with another computer. It makes it so that censorship and surveillance are much more harder to tap into. Like you can't really get a hold of it. But on the downside, it's sort of a double-edged sword. That also means that it's also more difficult to police like bad things that happen on the internet. So cybercrime and hate speech and misinformation, there's no central place to just go in and like shut it down. And just like, again, what I was saying a minute ago, you can always sort of build around it. Like even if you stop like one little pipeline, the way the internet works is like somebody can just make a new little pipeline and go around it. So okay, so now what is the World Wide Web? So the internet and the web work together. I know we use those terms sort of in exchange sometimes, but really think about the web as being something that's sort of like over the internet. The internet lays like the basic foundation for communication between computers, and the World Wide Web is this web. It's really the service. It's the software that allows us to use the internet to exchange information and communicate. the reason, I mean, I think it's appropriately called a web. I don't know whose word it was. Maybe it was Tim Berners-Lee, but I think that's like a really good metaphor actually, because it is sort of this network of connections. Normally, like you know what hyperlinks are, right? And I actually put it in blue here because a hyperlink is like you click on this one link and it takes you to another web page, right? That's it. That's the system that allows us to connect. We can create content, we can put it on the internet and then link it so it connects to other content, and hence the World Wide Web is made. And what search browsers are is services that allows us to navigate this web to find what we're looking for, because it knows to take like this path on the web, go through these links to link to the other thing. So anyway, it's I'm not going to ask you to draw a picture or anything like that. You get multiple choice exam questions, so just make sure you have a good understanding of what the difference between the internet is, which is like hardware, and the World Wide Web, software, services, hyperlinks, those types of things. So, okay, we've got the web. What is Web 2.0? Or better, what was Web 1.0? Well, okay, and we use this. I call my chickens, like every time I get like a new batch of chickens, it's like batch 5.0 or batch 7.0. Well, I'm not at 7.0 yet. I'm at 5.0, because we always do the 0.0 when there's like a new version of something. So this would imply that there was a Web 1.0 and then we went to Web 2.0. Not exactly. Really, I like the idea of thinking about Web 2.0 as a state of mind. The World Wide Web the internet was created a while ago, and then the World Wide Web was created in 1989. And when people really started using it, they were using it mostly to, share basic information on like web pages. An example I think of, because I was like around in the 90s and on the internet. Although it's funny, my first connection to the internet, I would go to the public library. And what I used to like to do there is, we did have it in the house shortly after, for the record, but what I'd like to do there is I was a big fan of The Cure, which was a band, and I would go and I would look at The Cure's webpage. And back then, web pages were just like information, like it would have their tour dates, but you couldn't do anything on it, right? You might be able to click a couple different pages, but you couldn't like comment on it or contribute anything to it, right? It was just flat information. But then, as time went on, people were kind of like, hey, like we don't have to treat the internet or the World Wide Web like just like a reference material, right? Like it's not just something where you go and look at it. We can actually do stuff. We can actually have other people contribute content. We can, instead of just reading things, we can create our own blogs and things like that, right? So really, it's not like there was some technology that allowed us to like upgrade to Web 2.0. It's just that as we had the web, eventually people started using it more, where there were more where users were encouraged to do more contributing. And these are just some examples of like the differences. Like another great example that I love here is like, when I was in like 7th grade or something, my parents got me like Microsoft Encarta, an online encyclopedia. Woo! Like I didn't have to use like books anymore because it was on the computer. Amazing. But the truth is like that. So that would be like a Web 1.0 thing. Like you go and you just look something up. But Wikipedia is a whole different thing, right? Because Wikipedia isn't just information, it's information that other users are contributing, right? It's taking advantage of the fact that people can actually interact with and do stuff, socialize on the World Wide Web. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Another great example, which I already kind of mentioned, like, okay, so people had personal websites, bands had websites that you could like look up. But that's very different than blogging, which is sort of like encouraging people to interact with, like leave comments on, and it's like not just there to be looked at, it's there to be engaged with, I think is one way of putting it. So these are all like just some examples of Web 2.0 apps. I mean, honestly, like right now, it's like, what isn't Web 2.0? I know. But all of these things have something, some element where users are contributing the videos, like on TikTok or on YouTube. Anybody use fandom? It's like a fandom wiki. It's like anytime like lots of people are coming together and they're tagging other people or they're hyperlinking to other sites and arguing about what sort of content should go there. Social network sites, inherently Web 2.0, even like these traffic sites, because like when you're on Waze and other users are telling you that there's a police car up ahead, right? That's Web 2.0. So you get the point. As far as the core competencies of Web 2.0, if this was an in-person class where I had like a really good like chalkboard and I could like, you know, make some fun illustrations. I'm actually terrible at it, but they're fun. I would explain to you things like using the long tail. I'm not going to. I'm going to keep it really simple. The only things I really want you to understand is the stuff that I have right here in red for your quiz this week. Web 2.0, sort of the core of it is that trusting users to be co-developers. I mean, when we talk about Web 2.0, we're talking about, I'll go back to Wikipedia again, these platforms and applications that they really, it's not about telling users to not put stuff online. The whole site works because people are contributing to it. Wikipedia wouldn't be anything if we didn't let users, spend hours arguing about Doctor Who or whatever fandom they wanted to, or talking about Shakespeare, or, even talking about the things in this class, right? It's like there's a Wikipedia page for everything. And that's because all it takes is a user to come in and start it. And then it gets better. Well, in theory, it's supposed to get better the more users get involved. So that co-development from the actual participants or users is key. The other thing is that Web 2.0 is really good at harnessing collective intelligence. A great example of this is like, have you ever heard of how, some public health officials can actually do research on people's Google searches to try to figure out like where a virus is spreading. So if a lot of people are like, for instance, doing searches about cold symptoms, and all of those people tend to be in like the mid-Atlantic or like Pennsylvania and West Virginia, that could provide some indication that, whoa, maybe there's a virus that's sort of like happening here, because what we're seeing people do on the web is, use these particular search terms that are indicative of some sort of sickness. That's collective intelligence. It's like because again, it's not just like one person. It's like a lot of people are doing one certain thing and revealing something about, well, in that case, public health, but it can work in a lot of different ways. And all the other stuff. It's important too, but obviously I guess not as important. I really do think though, really, if you understand those concepts and you get like the essence of what Web 2.0 is. If we were in class, I would at this point want you to watch a little video about sort of different philosophies about what the internet and the web are how they're supposed to sort of be managed. One is sort of like thinking about the internet as being this free and open place where everybody's equal, and you shouldn't have to pay for anything on the internet, because the whole point is it's supposed to be a great leveler, like a social equalizer. And for instance, we shouldn't have companies that can throttle, how quickly some people can get internet versus the other. Because it's like some people will think about it as like a public utility that everybody sort of deserves to have access to. And if you think about it, if the whole great thing about Web 2.0 is that the more people that contribute, there's some benefit to that. But the other side of that, and this is like very Bill Gates, is, well, no, the internet's a marketplace and people should have to pay for the services that they use. People who subscribe more to this philosophy think about a meme. Do you remember you remember Grumpy Cat? At some point, and I don't remember the details, there was a lawsuit because there was a question about who owns Grumpy Cat. Did the person who made the meme with the picture of the cat own the meme, or do the people who owned, bless her heart, she passed away, did the people who owned the cat have the right to that meme? Like, who gets money from that? Who's allowed to benefit from that? And, just this idea of like, the internet needs sort of like a system to monetize what's created out of it. I mean, some people would say nobody should own Grumpy Cat because a meme is the collective effort of different users on the internet, and you can't do that. But then Grumpy Cat's owners might say, yeah, but that's like my cat, and like I posted that image there. So I don't know. There's some interesting things, but I guess, yeah, we could talk about it if you want to meet on Thursday to talk about it. Okay, last slide. Oh my God, with 1 minute before the alarm goes off. I'm not going to make it, but close. So the next step, allegedly, and this is going to be a lot like the transition from Web 1.0 to Web 2.0, where it's not going to be like somebody flips a switch and we're in Web 3.0. But what people predict is that what's going to happen is like the next version of the web is going to be super personalized. So basically web browsers are going to be able to take big data, and big data is just all the little pieces of data that people get about you, about us, from everything that we do on the internet. I've heard it referred to as information shadows. Whenever you're like doing a search, whenever you're liking something on social media, whenever you're clicking on something, you're leaving behind a little piece of information about what you're interested in, what you're doing, and all of those little data points can be used to predict your behavior or to help understand different things that the internet might think you're interested in, and combine that. Oh, I got it. By the way, this is do you recognize this? Oh, I just turned it off. Okay, if you listen, I'll do another lecture and I'll let you see if you can guess what the music is, because I'm sure I won't finish on time. And then, so sorry, so Web 3.0, people are predicting that all those little data points from the big data can be combined with artificial intelligence. And you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, like the artificial intelligence that you are not allowed to use to write your papers for you and stuff. But the idea that there's going to be machine learning that can take that data and start to learn things about you so that it can predict things about you. So I have this example here where it's like, okay, so right now, if you're like in a town and you're like, hey, I'm in the mood for Indian food, I'm just gonna like use my phone and I'm gonna type in Indian food and it'll show me all of the restaurants. But you see, you had to do a couple different steps there. The prediction is that what's going to happen is with Web 3.0, your phone is already going to know you want Indian food, and you don't even have to tell it that, and it's going to just, you're going to say, hey, I want to go somewhere for lunch, and it's going to like just show you the best Indian restaurant in town for you, because it will have sort of already understood what you're looking for, and you're not going to have to go through those additional steps. So could be cool and could be freaky. I don't know. Might not happen at all. Okay, that's it. Have a good day, or watch another video if you don't want to have a good day. No, I'm kidding. Aren't I a delight? You love it. Okay, bye.